Hey, this is Trader Travis, and today I have an oldie but goodie for you. You see, we're winding down the 30-day challenge where I'm sharing 30 pieces of valuable content with you, but a lot of people don't know my backstory. And so today's lesson is called The Myth of the Overnight Success. A lot of people don't realize the majority of my life looks like failure, yet I still achieved financial freedom when I was in my mid-30s, right? So today's video is going to be broken up in two parts because it's about 20 minutes long. And I'm going to talk about that journey for those who have not heard it before. This is something I originally released about 4 years ago, and I'm re-releasing it. Why? Because I doubt anyone remembers it. I don't even remember what I talked about it. So I'm about to listen to it for the first time in 4 years, just like you. So again, this is part 1 of 2, and I will see you tomorrow with the second half. Take care, and I hope you enjoy. Because I want to share the myth of the overnight success. A lot of people who follow me and that are on my newsletter list, they know I earned a 211% return on my invested cash last year. You know, I was fortunate enough many years ago to find a group of millionaires who taught me how to fast track my success. Now, they told me that, you know, if I would just follow 100% of what they told me, that in a few short years, I'd have more wealth than I knew what to do with. And here I am, you know, down the road 17 plus years later, and I have to admit they are correct. And part of what gets me up in the morning and what gives me a sense of purpose in life is I get to share that same gift of mentorship with other people right now today. I created a program where I mentor other traders or people trying to learn options. But sometimes I get bummed out when a person I'm mentoring makes a costly mistake because I created the training to avoid that exact type of situation. I created my training so people don't have to repeat the same mistakes I've already made. And whenever they make a mistake, it always takes me back to my own wealth building journey. And so what I want to do is walk you through the story of how I got to the point of earning a 211%, on my money each year, despite the fact that the majority of my life looks like failure. Now, I'll start this story with two quotes. Now, I tell my students there are two ways to learn. You can learn by wisdom or you can learn by experience. One of those learning paths takes a few years, the other takes decades. And so two quotes that, use principles from the book of Proverbs, it's stated in different ways, but the first quote is, "Only a fool learns from his own mistakes. The wise man learns from the mistakes of others." From Otto von Bismarck, I believe that's how you pronounce it. The next quote is, "A smart man makes a mistake, learns from it, and never makes that mistake again. But a wise man finds a smart man and learns from him how to avoid the mistake altogether." And that's attributed to Roy Williams. Now, my theory as to why people make mistakes is because they daydream about the book version of success. It's that condensed down version. It's filled with a little drama. Yeah, the successful person made a few mistakes along the way, but it gets to the end goal rather quickly. Now, currently I'm reading a book called The Power of Broke. And in it, the author Damon John tells us a story how he used to work at Red Lobster and Kentucky Fried Chicken. Now, that's a long way from that successful retail empire or Shark Tank appearances he's known for. Now, I didn't know he worked at Red Lobster and Kentucky Fried Chicken. Did you? Because I feel we didn't know is because we see the interviews, we read the stories in magazines, but we never see the real struggle. We never see how they got started because the media portrays them as an overnight success because sex sells. And going from broke to millionaire in a few years, that's sexy. Now, I was recently interviewed about my success, and in the interview was really surprised when I told him all the different jobs and how I got to where I was at. He was kind of shocked. And I think he was shocked because the majority of my life looks like failure. And it's not his fault. You only see the end result, how much money I make from trading. People see my performance. I record it publicly. I'm always showing what I'm doing, 14 grand a month. People are like, wow, they see the end result. They weren't with me in the beginning to see the less glamorous part of that journey. So what I want to do is share that with you in today's lesson. Now, if you're not aware, I grew up poor in a house with no running water or bathroom, and we had like a little 5-gallon paint bucket as a toilet. We had an outhouse that we used. We all took baths in this big galvanized tin tub. We all used the same dirty bath water. It was all I knew. It wasn't anything wrong with it. I didn't view it as anything wrong with it. But growing up, after I grew up, I'm like, geez, we really were poor. But, I never really had any big aspirations to get rich as a kid. Money is not something that was talked about. rich people were, viewed as something that people were evil and greedy. Rich people were evil and greedy. So it's not like I aspired to be an evil and greedy person. I was also taught not to strive for much in life because the man would never let a minority get ahead. Now, that seems ludicrous to some, but it's what I was taught nonetheless. Now, my father died of cancer when I was 11, and then after that, I went through many years of neglect and abuse. And so you fast forward a few years, going through all that trauma, mischief, petty crimes, being shot at, getting arrested, and I eventually found myself in the military. Reason being is my lawyer said, look, it's either the military, jail, or death in the streets. Now, death didn't really scare me at the time. I really could care less about life or my life at that point or anybody's life. But I'm pretty short. I'm like 5'3" on a good day. And so I probably weighed, I can't remember, probably 119 pounds. So I'm thinking, can you imagine how I, do in jail? It wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be pretty. So, I decided, hey, let's go to the military. Now, I was, at that time, you can ask any friends who knew me, I was pretty messed up in the head, literally. My wife says I still have issues, but we'll talk about that another day. But joining the military is where I met my first mentor, Antonio McElroy. He's the one who taught me about real estate investing, and he sparked something in me. And I just viewed money as the solution to all the trauma I experienced growing up. And so I started my wealth building journey at that point. But I didn't buy my first investment property until about 6 years later. And the reason it took so long, I was reading a bunch of books. I was paralyzed by fear of taking action. I was just scared to make a mistake. But once I took action, I was like, geez, it's not that scary after all. Why did that take so long? So, I bought my first property. I realized it's not a big deal. And then I went on like a buying frenzy. I bought up everything I could. And so about a year and a half later, I had about 7 units and I was ready to quit my corporate job. When friends realized I was about to quit, they treated me like I was an overnight success, like one of those real estate millionaires you hear about on TV, and they would joke me about it. Oh, the next real estate millionaire. But you know what? They like most people, they have this bias. They glossed over the fact that I had spent 4 to 5 years learning about it and then 1 to 2 years accumulating all the properties. But anyway, I ran all the numbers, and the projected income from that last property I bought, that would have totaled all the money I was making from my properties would have been about equal to what I was making at my corporate job. So I went in and turned in my resignation on July 3rd, and I have a copy of that right here. And at the bottom of that letter, I put a quote by Les Brown. It says, in order to be successful, you must be willing to do the things today that others won't do in order to have the things that others won't have. Now, due to the proprietary nature of the computer industry, whenever you turn in a resignation, they always walk you out like either the same day or the next day. So they walked me out of the building the next day on July 4th, Independence Day. And I was like pumped because I took it as a sign of better things to come. I was like, it couldn't have worked out any better if I had planned it. I'm getting let go and I'm quitting my job on Independence Day to become a full-time real estate investor. I had achieved financial freedom. However, it was short-lived. 3 months later, all of my tenants decided to move out at the same time. And unfortunately, most of the properties needed major improvements. And guess what? This genius had zero savings, because I remember the way I used to think. I was like, who the heck needs savings? I'm going to be rich. I don't need a savings. I'm going to be rich. I had over leveraged myself on credit. I didn't have any money in the bank to fix up the units so I can re-rent them. So I did what anybody would do. I had a fire sale. I had to get rid of the properties. A fire sale is where you sell your properties pretty cheaply, deep discounts, usually for less than what you owe. And honestly, I felt like I felt like an idiot. I just quit my job. I was embarrassed to tell my friends, embarrassed that they would laugh at me, because you have the haters, the people who want you to fail and tell you you're stupid for quitting such a good job. And, it's all of that. It's like, it was like if they knew what I was going through, it would have just proved them right. So most people didn't even know what I was going through. But I got desperate and I did what any rational person would do in my situation. I applied for more credit and I used those new credit cards to live off of until I found another job. I also rated my 401k and oh gosh, if you ever done that, one of the biggest mistakes ever, or no, one of the biggest learning experiences ever. Because, taxes and penalties take like 40% of your money. But anyway, I looked for a job, and the next job was a forklift driver at a Walmart distribution center near Charlottesville. I had to drive like an hour and a half each way to work, and I earned, I think, roughly about $800 a month, and honestly, it sucked, but no, you can't feel sorry for me. I'm the one who created the situation. I was the one responsible for fixing it. And around this time, I also started to learn options because I was looking at how much debt I had. And I'm like, I got hundreds of thousands of dollars of credit card debt. I'm making like $800 a month. There's no way in the world I can pay off all this debt, working at Walmart. And my friend was like, hey, why don't you learn options with the guy I'm learning from? So I did that, sold my car to raise the money to trade with.